Hi, my name is Scott Verosi, and I have written a book about mirror harmony, which is my term for negative harmony. And it introduces mirror harmony as a holistic approach to harmony. And secondly, it puts it in historical perspective, where I'm taking examples from Franz Liszt and Bartok and Wagner and trying to illustrate principles that way. We have done some examples of symmetry reflections where you take a symmetry point on the piano, either a single note or two notes, and you reflect a structure this way over that symmetry point. And we have talked about balance transforms, where you'll take something like a four-note voicing, and the amount of motion that goes up, like one voice goes up a half step, another voice will balance that by going down a half step. We've talked about those balance transforms. We've also talked about how balance transforms are essentially a shorthand for symmetry reflections. So we've done a lot. And then I think a third major topic we've done is that there are two very different types of symmetry reflection. One is where you take a single note and you mirror over that single note, and the other is where you've got two notes right next to each other on the keyboard, and you take the space between those notes, and each of the notes of the pair reflects into the other note of the pair, and then everything above the first note reflects below the second note. And when we're creating things with a single note, we get very tonal structures when we create symmetrically from that center. So we can, if we choose D as our center, that's the second degree of C major, and we can just, using the same intervals going up and down, we create the C major scale. So and we also create a diminished 7 chord right off that D. And then that creates tension and release with a major 6 chord built off the E and the C. We've also talked about how we can move into 3 other keys from that diminished 7. So D diminished 7 is also F diminished 7, A flat diminished 7, and B diminished 7. And you can think of those as the second degree of 3 other scales, which in this case are E flat, G flat, and A natural. So those become functionally equivalent keys or chords. So we've seen in Tristan und Isolde, we saw very early in the first page of Tristan und Isolde, we saw an example where he goes straight through A7 to C, A7 to E flat 7 to G flat 7 to C. Just goes through all of those in the space of 1 bar, and to just create this functionally equivalent kind of, ocean of movement in a very short space of time. So, and then when we build things with a 2-note axis, we get really neat stuff where you create fourths chords right away. So if I go up from E and E flat, I'll go up to G flat and D flat, and then a fourth down and a fourth up will give me A flat, D flat, G flat, B, this fourth chord. So we really quickly get into this modal harmony type of stuff when we're dealing with the 2-note axis. What I wanted to talk about in today's video is maybe probably the 4th major topic of mirror harmony, and that is chord types, chord taxonomy or classification. And I've got the Broad-Eye notebook right here. This is my book, and in one of the first chapters, it talks about the 2 different types of symmetry, and then it talks about the chord types that are in those symmetry types. Page 33, a very cool number. Page 33 is all the chord types. The single note symmetry on the left and the double note symmetry on the right. And I want to get into them. And a really neat exercise is how I want to get into them. And this is where we go unilateral motion. So we just take one voice and we move it, and it will scan through the different chord types. So I'm going to do that real quick. I'm going to start with we'll do major triad first. So we'll do a major triad, and we will move a top voice up, and we're going to scan through all the chord types built off of that. And we're going to get I believe we're going to get both types. We're going to get both single note symmetry created structures, and we're going to get double note symmetry created structures. I want to do a future video about how we can get from double note created structures to single note created structures, and vice versa. You'll start to recognize them as characteristic sounds, but there are pathways in and out of the two different types of symmetry. And here we go. So, real quick, my example is going to be a C major. We'll start with C major scale. Let me scoot this a little bit this way. So, okay, so there we go. That is just a C major triad with G in the bottom. And I'm going to put a note on top, which is my fourth note. So we're doing 4-note voicings. And it's just that F, the first one. It's the first one available after the E. And we create all these 4-note structures, which are a big deal in my Franz Liszt, my Dante and my Faust symphonies. There's a lot of 4-note structures creating melodies. So this is you just call this a sus sound. It's not one of the ones in the book, but it's definitely deserves, you hear this stuff a lot. Wagner used a ton of this kind of. That kind of suspended sound. So move one note up, a half step up, and now I've got this. This is what is called a major sharp 4 sound. So it's a major triad with a sharp 4 added. We might have talked about this before. I treat it as the Bluebeard chord. Because it's the very beginning of Bartók's Bluebeard's Castle. And you get that. Major sharp 4 sound. Okay, so we go up another half step and we get a G major. And we can do a balance transform right here because it's fun, and we get a this is an A flat Pandora chord, which is a dominant 7, A flat, flat 7, the third, and then instead of a 5, the sharp 5. It's an A flat Pandora chord. And we will do a kind of a special on the Pandora chords. Pandora chords are cool because they can morph into majors and minors. So we did it right there where we go, the Pandora chord that came right off of my G with, C with double G's right here, right? And a balance transform where the top note goes one step up, the bottom note goes a half step down, and we get this A flat Pandora chord, which is a dominant 7 with a sharp 5. And then I can do another balance transform where my E note goes up to F, my G flat goes down to F, and I'm firmly in F minor. So, and it's just a balance transform little moment. I'm gonna stop digressing. But remember, the Pandoras can go into majors and minors. We'll do a full video about that later. Now let me go up one more half step. So that was just C major, right? And now I've got C major with a flat 6. And I call that a Heinrich chord because it's a big part of the sound of the Faust Symphony. And the Faust Symphony, Liszt's Faust Symphony has that, especially in the Gretchen movement. You hear a lot of this flat 6 sound, major flat 6. So that A flat is the flat 6 in C. You recognize a lot of these sounds from movie soundtracks too. These each have a different personality, and you can kind of picture different, I don't know, like space or something. But you definitely will hear these sounds in movie soundtracks to set different moods. Okay, so let's go up another half step. What do we got here? Now we are at a major 6 chord. And that's the end of the Faust Symphony is a C major 6 chord. And it's also a minor 7 chord, so the equivalent of just moving the bass from E, G, A, C. With a C in the bass, that's a nice major 6 chord. But if you put A in the bass, it's a minor 7 chord. They're both symmetrical chords. They're both built out of the single note symmetry system, which I call the Faust system, but we can just call it single note symmetry. They're tonic and classical sounding. But it could be major or minor based on the root note. And it's I don't know, it's one of them. Now here's an example of us scanning through chords, and we go to that major 6, and then a half step up puts us in dominant 7 territory. And that's a C7, and I call that the Isolde chord, just because I feel like the whole idea of Tristan und Isolde is that F minor 7 flat 5 chord going to the E dominant, and it's that is a symmetry flip right there. So the Tristan chord is, for a long time people have said, oh, the mysterious Tristan chord, that F A flat B E flat, or F B E flat A flat, depending on how you voice it, that's the Tristan chord. So definitely the reflection of that should be the Isolde chord, in my humble opinion. So dominant 7, like this C7, is what I call the Isolde chord, but it's a dominant 7 chord. Now, real quick, I'll do another very cool mirror harmony trick where the C of the C dominant 7 goes up 2 steps to mirror into an E minor 7. Is it an E minor? Yeah. E minor 7 flat 5. Also known as a G minor 6. So the G minor 6 is the 5 minor 6 of the related C7 chord. But I just wanted to show that real quick. And there's a complementary relationship if you're dealing with augmented chords, because our diminished chords and our augmented chords are kind of like the little passages, the secret passages, how we get from one area to another, or one chord type to another. The secret passage of that dominant 7 is just halfway there. You've got this C sharp E G B flat fully diminished 7 chord, which is the passageway to that E minor 6 chord, and back to that C dominant 7. They are each other's reflection, and you have this passageway symmetrical diminished 7 chord in between them. Now, same thing happens if you've got C major, and this goes up a half step. It's an augmented chord, and that augmented chord can go up another half step to give you a minor. So you've got majors and minors are each other's reflections in the triad realm over axes, like the D axis. If I go down a whole step, up a whole step, up a minor third from that whole step, and I do that relationship in reverse, the whole steps are the same, but then I go down a minor third from this whole step. So that is the reflection of this. C major is the reflection of A. And so in the triad world, G major halfway transforming to A minor is a symmetrical augmented chord, and then all the way up is the mirror reflection. And then back to this guy, this C dominant 7. This isn't the same reflection axis. I'm not even going to wonder what it is right now, but and then halfway there is this diminished. And then one more half step goes here. E minor 7 flat 5, or E minor half diminished. Okay, so moving on with our majors. I got to here. There's one more left before I get back up to C major triad. It's C major 7. So I can move this G up to here. And a cool thing about these is these major 7s, that's a double note symmetry center structure, but what's neat about them is you can go one voice can go up to there. Like these will go to majors or minors. It's kind of a neat pivot for majors and minors. Like you go C, E, G, B. Again, another four note melodic structure. And you can just unilaterally move the B up to C and you've got a C major. Or you can unilaterally move this C down to B and you've got E minor. Okay, so that's all my C majors. And again, I think I'll name them the way I name them in the thing, which is, that's just a sus4 sound. This is called a Bluebeard chord, major with a sharp 11. That's another, just a major with double 5s, which is good for moving into other territory. You've got a C major 6 chord, which is also A minor 7 chord. You've got C dominant 7 chord right there, which I call an Isolde chord. And then C major 7. So that's that. Now let's do the same thing with minors. If I go my minor, G, C, E flat, and I add the next note above it, I've got this very cool structure, which you're going to hear in Liszt and Bartók and Wagner, which is a major minor chord. And Lenvi makes a big deal of saying that these are Bartók chords, just that major triad with also a minor third, minor and a major third. And we see it for the very first time. I think, I don't know, but I see it, the earliest I could find it is in the Gretchen movement of Faust Symphony, the very one, either the first page or the second page of that piano transcription. Okay, cool. So that's a Bartók gamma chord. Call that a gamma chord, major and minor. The next one up is like a melodic structure where we've got a minor with a 4 in it. So that's the melodic version of just the C minor triad. It adds that the fourth or the fourth degree of C minor. So sorry, I didn't mean to add that flat 7. Okay, so moving one up, we get this G, C, G, C, E flat, F sharp, and the F sharp makes it what is called a delta chord. Lendvai calls this the Bartók delta chord. And this is in Faust Symphony as well. The Liszt had used this, and Wagner used this. And you get this neat symmetry here. I'll just mention off the cuff that if you raise the top note and drop the bottom note, it goes into another version of itself. But it sounds like there's motion. Keeping going, you've got your double fifth C minor chord right here. And then that's probably got like some kind of neat symmetry stuff. Yeah. Right. So if you come off that, you just get a dominant 7. Remember when we came off this, the major, we balance transformed into a Pandora chord, which is a dominant 7 sharp 5. And then if we do it off of the minor, we go into A flat dominant 7 regular style. Oh, sorry, my bad. Okay, keeping going. Now we have, this is C minor with a flat 6, which is also known as A flat major 7. So you just revoice it. So your A flat, E flat would go here, and your G, C would go on top. Three, 7, 5, 1. That's I think the second act of Tristan and Isolde begins with like it's that kind of dominant 7. I'm sorry, major 7. So anyway, but in E flat instead of A flat. All right, keeping going. And I showed the neat things you can do with a major 7 chord. It's also really, I mean, C minor with a flat 6 and a minor 3rd. And that's something we hear in Tristan und Isolde as well. Anyway, that minor version of the major 7 chord, which is basically just flipping the fifths, right? A flat, E flat with G, C on top. But if you take the C and G and put them on the bottom, you've got that very minor sound, that minor flat 6 sound. Okay, so anyway, moving along. And again, you've got that trick with an A flat major 7. You can unilaterally move the G to the A flat to get an A flat major, or you can unilaterally move the A flat down to G to get a G minor sound. Okay, so moving along. I was here, and now the next one up is this. That's the minor 6 sound. Okay, so that's C minor 6. It's also A minor 7 flat 5, or A sub minor as Lenvi would call it. Or you could call it the A Tristan chord because it's a minor 7 flat 5. So I've got this A sub minor chord or C minor 6 chord. And then that 5, the 5 can come down. The 5 of the C minor 6 can come down to F sharp to give me that fully diminished 7 chord. And then down another half step to give me F dominant 7. So that's the reflection of the minor 6 to the dominant 7, passing through the symmetrical diminished chord. And since you pass through the symmetrical diminished chord, you really could then resolve to any of the same dominant 7ths related by minor thirds. I'll just do one example of that, which is if I got to here and I dropped the E flat down a half step instead of continuing down with the top voice, I get a D7. So instead of going A half diminished to F7, I go A half diminished to D7, which is a pretty common progression. Okay, anyway, moving on even further, that was my one more half step up. This is it's an E flat major 6 chord if I put my E flat and B flat from here down to here. Or E flat, B flat, C, G, like that. Same notes, just different voicing. But it's also C minor 7. So C, E flat, G, B flat. So E flat major 6 sound, C minor 7, same thing we did before. And then one more is going to get me up to G, C, E flat, B natural, which is C minor major 7. And these are neat ones too, the minor 7, because you can symmetrically get from them to your major and minor chords. So as you can get from that one to like an E flat, C, E flat, G, B. You can get to just a regular E minor chord by balance transforming E flat up to E and C down to B. And then that's a neat one that we should show the mirror of, because the mirror of this minor major 7 chord, which I call the Gretchen chord because it's the mirror reflection of the Heinrich chord. So that would mirror into like, it depends on the axis, but let's just choose C major flat 6. And C major flat 6, I can turn into like an A flat major chord just by going like this. My E and my G expand to be E flat and A flat. So I get from that to just a plain A flat major chord. I can also do, this can become, I think it can go, the C drops down and the G raises up to get to give me an E major chord, which is interesting because the whole architecture of the Faust Symphony is based on that C major, E major, and A flat major, the things related by major thirds. But if you have that Heinrich chord, which is C, E, G, A flat, and drop the A flat down to there, then you can toggle to, using balance transform, to E major or A flat major. And you've got something similar to that. I won't go over exactly why a minor major 7 is the mirror inversion of the major with a flat 6, but it is, and I've covered it in a different video. But we can go back to the thing we were just talking about, which is that minor major 7, and then you can balance transform it into an E minor, like this, E flat up, C down. And I'm kind of guessing there's another one really close, which would be another minor. So if I was C and I found my E, there's probably an A flat minor here, which is A flat minor. Can I find it? I need that A flat and I need this C flat. So that's the same cool relationship. So those are reverses, and you can toggle from them into the other thing, and it's just neat. It's just neat. They are each other's mirror equivalent. So again, this will give you E minor from that C minor major, or it'll also give you A flat minor. And then if I was doing my C major with a flat 6 added, Heinrich chord, which is the major flat 6, and you can balance transform that to A flat major. C Heinrich goes to A flat major, or C Heinrich can go to E major. And you see a lot of that stuff in the Faust Symphony, and that's the reason I call those chords Heinrich and Gretchen, because those are the protagonists of the first half of Faust. Is Dr. Faust is Heinrich Faust, and his love interest is Gretchen. Okay, so I think that's it. Again, I'll just real quickly go the majors. Sus, major sharp 11, I call that Bluebeard chord, just a major. That's a major flat 6, call that Heinrich. I've got a major 6, I actually call that Orpheus, but I didn't mention that before. And then you've got a dominant 7, which I call the Isolde chord. Then a major 7 chord is the Eurydice chord in my taxonomy. Now let's do the minors. You've got this gamma chord, with a major and a minor third. You've got this melodic, it's minor sus4 as well, you could call it that. Then you've got your delta chord, flat 5 and a sharp 5 in the same chord. And then you've got C minor flat 6 or A flat major 7. Then we've got C minor 6. Then we've got C minor 7. And then we've got C minor major 7, which is called the Gretchen chord, and is the reverse of the Heinrich chord, which is the major flat 6. The minor 7 chord is the same chord as the major 6 chord, so that's also an Orpheus chord. And that's all I've got to say about that stuff. Okay, so anyway, we've covered symmetry reflections, we've covered balance transforms, we've covered the 2 different types of symmetry, and we've covered chord types. What's next is progressions, where we're going to show how we can move through different progressions using all these techniques. And what's forward motion and what's backward motion, and how to use the reflections to move through that stuff. I think that's really it. So anyway, I've got a 5-email course in the description, and I've got these discs for sale. I can print these and send them out. And what they do is you create symmetry reflections. If you want a single note symmetry axis, you match your note you want, D with D, and then any structure on the outside will be mirrored into the structure on the inside. And they're just circles of fifths in opposite directions. And then if you want a 2-note symmetry axis, you would pair the 2 notes that are next to each other. So E and E flat, then you'd get whatever structure on the outside would be reflected on to the structure on the inside. This is the Brad Eye notebook, and it's got a ton of explanations and examples and diagrams and all these concepts written out. It's 200 pages and talks about all these concepts in detail, and you can just read this book one time, get a certain amount of understanding of it, read it a second time, and then the stuff starts to all just mix together, and you start to see it, how all the different parts are connected. And that's it. We'll probably do some specific example videos going forward, where after I talk about progression as a concept, I'll just grab a really cool example from any of the given works of art, like the Liszt stuff, the Bartók, the Wagner stuff, and go deep into that one particular example. There are a couple real cool doors. That's probably its own video right there. Doors between the types of symmetry, because single note symmetry creates very tonic stuff, very diatonic, classical sounding stuff. 2-note symmetry creates very more modern, pentatonic, 4th type of voicings, modal type of stuff. It's slightly more dissonant and cool to me. But there are doors, there's doorways, there's particular chords that will take you between those two systems. And there's ways to get from chord type to chord type. You could reflect from this chord type to this chord type, and then these chord types will move to other types. And there's really cool doorways that'll get you from one place to another. I mean, it really gives you the freedom to move to almost any key from, I shouldn't say almost any key from any key, but also keep some sort of gravity caused by the reflections. It's really cool stuff, and we'll be getting deep into it. So if you want to email me and request a disc, I'll get in touch with you. I can send one of these out. If you would like to grab the book, feel free to email me, or you can take the 5-email course that's in the bottom of this description, and you'll sign up, you'll give me your email, and I'll send you 5 pretty lengthy emails in a row, one every day, and they go into a very in-depth but basic description of the mirror harmony that I'm talking about here. The reason I call this the Liszt Principles is because I traced these principles back to the Faust and Dante symphonies by Franz Liszt. And there are crystal clear examples of all these reflections and these mirror harmony techniques in those 2 symphonies. Those 2 symphonies are also discernibly the influence on a couple of great works, or numerous great works, but in particular, Bluebeard's Castle, the 1-hour opera by Bela Bartok. It contains very obvious nods to the Faust symphony in particular, and Dante symphony as well. And then Wagner's Tristan and Isolde contains a lot of acknowledgement of the principles in these 2 symphonies, as well as the symphonic poems by Liszt. And Liszt is on record as calling the Faust and Dante symphonies as the culmination of his work on his symphonic poems, which definitely, if you dig into them, they seem to be building towards the Faust and Dante symphonies. Okay, and that's it. I really appreciate your time, and thanks for checking out the Liszt Principles, and we will see you next time. Thanks so much.